Welcome to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. Each week on this program, Jeff and his guests share their expertise, personal anecdotes, and the latest industry news to keep you in the loop. Now, to provide you with insight and help you navigate the consistently changing world of real estate lending, here is your host for The Mortgage Voice, Jeff Barton.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, and I'm your voice here in the Mortgage Voice, and we're on each and every week. Thanks for tuning in. Lots going on in the mortgage market this week, but to get to that, I wanted to let you know that you can hear us on many great podcasts. We are on the Big 8. Some of them include Apple, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, and Google Music Play. So if you want to listen to the show, please go to all those places and you can find us. We are the Mortgage Voice, and again, I'm Jeff Barton. Also, if you'd like to see us, which is the video portion of what we're trying to do each and every week, and it's a little cumbersome, obviously, because we're not in our studio. Things aren't as smooth as we'd like them to be, but we're getting used to it and we're getting better at it. Go to YouTube, The Mortgage Voice, Jeff Barton, The Mortgage Voice on YouTube. This, as well as many other shows, are online. We've been doing this show in its current location. This is our third week. And as I said, we're getting more comfortable with what we're trying to do. Although me, like many other people in the industry, and there are many, many thousands of people who do video like this now, are still trying to get the bells and whistles down as what's going on behind me, what's going on in front of me, and exactly who I'm talking to when I'm talking to you as the audience. That being said, let's get to it. Lots happening, as I said, in the mortgage market space. For a couple of weeks, we've been faking it. How do I mean by that? The unemployment numbers in the last week to 10 days have been brutal. As you know, there's probably close to 3.5 million people out of work right now that have applied for unemployment insurance. And as a result of that, what happens to those people who have applied for unemployment insurance who are in the middle of a purchase or in the middle of a refi? So what is going on with the lenders? What is going on with the warehouse lenders? What is going on with anybody who has to do with funding loans for people who are in marginal businesses? Well, if you're in that situation right now, you really need to call your mortgage professional, somebody who's in the business, so that they can give you the information that is coming out of either their warehouse line or their servicer, or if it in fact is a brokered loan, what the lender is saying. Verification of employment has become the number one issue because, as everyone knows, your job may be at risk or it may disappear altogether. This has happened over the course of many industries. Some of the industries that we thought were safe are not safe, i.e. police officers, firefighters, nurses, doctors. As we heard 2 days ago, most of the people who work in the healthcare industry, thinking that their jobs are safe, going forward with purchases, come to find out that if you're in a hospital setting, and those hospitals were used to a certain amount of admitted patients in order to help fund what they were doing at the hospital, well, if they're only getting COVID-19 cases admitted, their income has dropped. So therefore, they've had to lay off people. You would think that's an oxymoron, laying off healthcare workers in a health crisis, but in fact, that is what's happening. So if you're in one of those industries, or if you're in an industry that has already seen massive layoffs, the loan that you are getting, the loan that you want to do, the refi on your house or the purchase, they are in jeopardy. And what the lenders are asking, what the warehouse lenders are asking, what the warehouse lines are asking, and this has happened to Malibu Funding as well, as in talking to, and Nate's been on the show a three times. He's the warehouse lender that we use. They've gone to a verification of employment for the warehouse line. Now, that's really never happened before, i.e. the warehouse line is afraid that between the time that they fund a loan and you sell it to your investor, that the job will disappear. And how it works normally for, especially for warehouse and a lender like myself in the mini correspondent area, I borrow the money from the warehouse. I loan it to the borrower who's either getting a refi or purchase, and then my investor purchases the loan off the warehouse line. So there's several components here. There's me, there's the warehouse line, there's the investor. All three of us are looking to obviously get a secure loan that the person who is getting the loan, you, let's say you're out there trying to get a loan, this is exactly the scenario that we're talking about with any lender. They want to make sure that you're going to have a job next week because they do not want to get stuck in a forbearance situation. Now, what does a forbearance situation mean? Anybody who's got a mortgage, and this is the other part of the equation that is really making everything really, really difficult, is the forbearance in itself says that you can delay the payment of your loan by X amount of time. Well, how is that supposed to work? Forbearance usually works when there is a forgiveness of a loan, but you continue in the payments once the forbearance period is over, or you give up the home in the forbearance. If the government is saying that we are going to allow forbearance and ask for a timeout, we talked about this last week, a little bit more humorously, but this week not so much. The timeout period, whether it's 8 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, what happens to that loan is that there is no product which allows you to tack on the amount of the forbearance onto the back of the note. If you have a 30-year fixed, there's no 30-year plus 3 months loan. So what happens at the end of the 30-year fixed is you'll have a balloon payment, which defeats the whole purpose of what an amortized loan is supposed to be over 30 years. You make the same payment for 30 years, and how the balance of the payments work is you pay most of the interest rate up front, you pay the balance at the end. But if it's the balance at the end, you're not at the end. You've actually got 3 months worth of payment that are due after that amount of time. So what is going to happen? So in talking to Nate at the warehouse lender that we use, the warehouse bank, he was saying, look, the government is going to have to come up with a loan program to, in lieu of this weird 30-year plus 3-month payout at the end of the term, which would restart the clock at 30 years. Now, how's that going to work if you're, 4 or 5 years into the loan and you've paid all that interest? It's a quagmire, and I rarely use a word like that, but it is a mess. And in talking about that and talking about how we're trying to wend our way through it, how we're trying to move down the street, continue to do business so that my particular company, the company who's the warehouse, the investor, all of us are a partnership here. And the only way it all works, because we work on very, very thin margins. People think that banking in the mortgage area is a very lucrative business. Well, it may be, but you have to do incredible volume in order to make it so. So if the entire industry slows down, and at each point there are new stops, i.e. the warehouse now wants a verification of employment before funding. The investor wants a verification of employment before they purchase the loan, which may be 1 week after the funding. This is how the industry is treating this particular problem, because on a global scale, we're not quite sure what industry is going to be in business next week. We know the grocery stores are, if they don't get sick. We know that the gas stations are. We know that medical is. But name an industry other than, I guess, construction, which is guaranteed to be in business next week. We have a couple of guests coming on today. One, Charles Giscombe, and another, Alexis Young, who are both based out in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to talk about the ghost town that Las Vegas is. Now, anybody that worked in Las Vegas, Nevada over the last 30 years will tell you, you work for a casino, you are guaranteed a job forever. Well, that's not the way it is right now. The entire industry is out of work. So what happened to all those people that worked, the drink servers, the bartenders, the cocktail waitresses, the croupier, the dice for the card dealers, all of these people, the security people? I mean, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs at all the hotels out there. They're all out of work. What happens to their loan payments? What happens to their inability to be able to pay the loan payment, obviously, on time? They have this forbearance. What happens to the forbearance when the time is up and they're still out of work? Anyway, it's very, very complex situation, because in our economy, it only works if everybody keeps spending money. And if we stop spending money, what then happens to people if they can't pay their bills? So the implosion of the system, well, anyway, we're in a bit of a problem right now. I think there is an end to it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Barton. Thanks for listening to the show, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome, everybody. I am Jeff Barton, your host for The Mortgage Voice. Thanks for listening. And check out our Mortgage Voice podcast on Apple Podcasts and Google Music Play and wherever fine podcasts are heard. Subscribe for free. Never miss an episode. Please leave us a review. It helps other people find the show. We're also on YouTube at Jeff Barton, The Mortgage Voice. Subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell to get notified whenever a new episode is available. And check us out on our website at www.themortgagevoice.com. Daryl, you there?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, I lost picture a little bit, but it's okay.
I didn't want to have everybody be distracted. I don't
Yes,
want everybody to see you front and center. I mean, see, I can pop me back in there.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much. Everybody, thank you very much for listening to the show. It's been a little bit crazy for a lot of us trying to adjust to new work settings. However, Daryl is terrific at what he does, and so magically and with the seamlessness that belies what the difficulty really is, bringing him to us from New York is Charles Giscombe, who is going to, talk with us again today about what's going on both in the mortgage industry as well as he personally. Chuck, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Okay, first off, from the top, most people know that we had a manager of our company who was stricken with COVID-19, and we just got some great news that he's better, and he's coming out after 3 weeks in a coma. Has come out of the virus, and now we are very happy about that. How is everybody at your end, Chuck?
Well, first and foremost, I am very, very happy and very pleased, and we're blessed that our counterpart, our brother, is doing well. It was great news today to hear that he's doing better. So I am very, very happy, and that's a positive. That's definitely positive, Jeff. And on the other front, everyone's doing well. People are just trying to abide by what's going on. As we hear information from the news or from whatever outlet that we receive, just trying to follow that and stay safe. I'm here with my mother, so obviously she's elderly, and we just want to make sure that we protect those as well as everybody else, protect ourselves. But obviously, that is definitely a demographic that we need to protect. So we're doing well over here. Everybody here is well, and I'm glad that you're doing well. And again, our brother and our coworker is doing very well. It's good.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think in our business, when we get mixed up with numbers and fundings and the warehouse scarcity and liquidity issues and verification of employments, we tend to lose track of, I guess at least I lose track of the real people who are affected by this. Is not me. I mean, financially, yes, but I mean, my health is fine. But those people who are struggling with that, their whole world is turned upside down. And there's a lot of people who are struggling with this. And I just want to recognize that. And I know that you and I both have a personal relationship with, the guy here in Las Vegas who was affected, but he's getting better. And that's the best news we can really hope for.
That's all we can hope for, Jeff. A lot of times they say when people get sick with this and it's down the way he was, that it's not too much positive news that comes out of that side.
Right.
Let this be a light at the end of the tunnel, and that we're happy and we're praying for his continuous progress and a healthy recovery.
Right, I agree. Okay, let me get to a couple mortgage things. A lot of new guidelines are coming out in regards to fundings. Warehouses are coming up with their own stipulations prior to funding. Investors are coming up with their own stipulations prior to purchase. It's mostly about verification of employment. That's always been a sore subject with the lending industry and trying to verify what people make, how they make it, and then at this point, is anybody home to be able to get that information? What is your feeling on it, and what is the information that you might have in regards to it?
I mean, that's very true. You know, a lot of people being laid off, the most we've ever seen in a very long time, Jeff. And so you got people that have been in the middle of the loan process, that are at the end of the process, that are looking to close. You know, we talked about this all the time. We had some loans before everything went, happened with the market, Jeff, and we had some loans that were at loan docs ready to close, and then they just had to be shut down. So lenders are concerned that, one thing that we can say that we've learned from the crash in 7 to 8, Jeff, is that, you have to put things in place that will allow us to keep lending, to keep moving forward, but also to protect the market. And you don't want those things to happen and those crashes to occur that, like we said, we happened in 7 to 8. But yes, we're seeing the lenders tighten up a little bit. And the one thing about the market that, my understanding has been, I think we spoke about this before, is, a lot of times the lenders want to keep lending, but when the market goes this way, we really don't have any idea on what the values of the homes are going to be. Eventually they may change. So a lender may have been lending on one amount before, but now they may be lending on another amount in the next 30 or 60 days. That's a lower amount. So they don't want to get stuck with bad debt or upside down debt either. It's a way to prevent themselves from going, being upside down right away. Eventually it may happen, but this is just some fail-safes they put in place. And I know a lot of lenders that we utilize for the different niche markets have suspended until they see the market stabilization occur, Jeff. So when that happens, then they'll bring these programs back in play. But one thing's for certain, and I want people to be comfortable in knowing, from a traditional loan standpoint, meaning your government loans, FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie, those loans are still getting done. And Malibu Funding is still doing those deals. And obviously they put a couple different overlays, meaning a couple different things in play to protect themselves, but they're still lending. So we want people to understand that you still can transact, you still can make that purchase, you still can do a refinance, you still can make those things happen. You just have to make sure that there's a couple other things that are going to be put in play. And so that's it. And I think that, we'll get past this, Jeff. Things happen. We'll get past this and we'll go back to normal or at least somewhat close to normal. But I think this is just a moment where everybody's trying to protect themselves and embrace themselves for the worst so they don't feel it that much.
Yeah, I talked to my warehouse lender, and I'm sure many warehouse lenders are feeling this pinch right now, is that between the time the loan funded and the time the investor was going to purchase, which is usually, 5 or 6 days, person loses their job. So warehouses are getting stuck with loans that they don't know what to do with. And
correct.
I think, and I know some of the overlays you're talking about have to do with credit scores. I don't know what the difference a credit score is going to make. If a guy loses his job, he loses his job. It's not going to make a difference whether he's got an 800 FICO score or a 450 FICO score. If you didn't see the job loss coming, what are you supposed to do? So,
I mean, and that is true. Very true, Jeff. I mean, because if you're not going to be employed, how are you going to take care of that? I think a lot of lenders, I have seen some lenders saying that they're working with borrowers to help them get past the situation. And we've even seen things in different commercials and marketing in regards to this COVID-19 situation that's occurring. And some lenders are saying, give us a call, we'll work with you to do different things to see if there's something that we can do, which is a good thing, a great thing for people. We're here, Jeff. We work hard. I really appreciate Malibu Funding. I've been working with the company obviously for a long time, and Jeff, I couldn't work with a better person than yourself, Jeff. I just feel like we're going to have to wait the storm out.
Yeah,
we're just going to have, and we'll keep working. And people will still purchasing. There's some individuals that take this opportunity to continue to purchase and buy because they feel like this is an opportunity for them to get into.
I agree.
Buyer's market situation. I think people take advantage of that. We'll still be here for them. but also people that are stuck in situations. There's a lot of people out there just that have very high interest rates. And even still, based upon where the market is right now, some people still could use our help. A lot of people can still use our help in refinancing them into lower situations or higher commercial deals or investment properties or just higher interest rates that they've never got a chance to switch. There's still ability and products out there. It's just going to be based upon the needs that you have. And so we're here to field all those questions, and even questions that we can answer, Jeff, that, may not have to do with purchasing, but just understanding the loan process and what's happening right now.
Right.
It's important for individuals like ourselves to be available to talk to people and help them through these moments, because it can be very scary for some people that are not knowledgeable about mortgages and loans.
Chuck, thanks very much. You want to shout out your phone number for people, please?
Absolutely. We still have Malibu Funding, 702-328-5191, or you can email me at charles@malibufunding.biz, malibufunding.biz.
Chuck, thanks very much. Once again, knocking it out of the park. I really appreciate the info and the time.
Jeff, I'm glad to be on the show, and anything I can do to always help, I will do. Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much. That's Charles Giscombe from Malibu Funding. He's the manager out there in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton, and thank you for listening. Check out the Mortgage Voice podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Music Play, wherever fine podcasts are heard. Subscribe for free, never miss an episode. Please leave us a review. It really helps us to have other people find the show. I mean, what we'd like to do is to be able to reach everybody who has questions about mortgages, questions about the business itself, especially in today's world where everything's not quite as sure as it was a month ago. We're also on YouTube. If you want to see me versus hear me, we're on 4 radio stations, 3 in Southern California and 1, the new affiliate in Las Vegas, Nevada at AM 1400. But if you go to YouTube, Jeff Barton, The Mortgage Voice, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell to get notified wherever a new episode is available, and check us out on our website at www.themortgagevoice.com. Joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada, I wanted to get more of a flavor of what's happening in one of the most vibrant cities, although not today, is Alexis Young. Alexis, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. And could you shout out what real estate company are you working for now?
Smartly Acquisition.
Okay, great. And tell us, I know we talked off air about what is happening out there, but give us an idea visually of what it's like to drive around town.
So visually, there are people that are still working. You can order takeout. A lot of people are doing that. Delivery. So people are still driving around, and there are people that are practicing social distancing, of course, and visiting parks and trails, and taking their dog out for a walk, and just trying to get out, stretch their legs, and do something other than sit online and watch the news.
Right.
There's a lot of fake news going around these days, so It's just better to keep your mind and your body healthy and overall in a better positive mindset than to listen to what's going on the news than what's going on in real life.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think most of what people should be doing is not what they're doing. I think what happens in catastrophes and disasters, and we've been through mortgage disasters, real estate downturns, so we have an understanding in the mortgage business a little bit better than most people because we go through the ups and downs. What happens is you get focused on the negative and you're constantly getting fed adrenaline rushes based on the next negative piece of information versus, what I think would be more helpful is to try to center yourself and to really concentrate on the next thing you can do positively, regardless of what it is. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. So one important point I'd like to add regarding our business that we do, a lot of people are in between trying to still get that home or that investment property. And my honest opinion is I would hold off, and I would tell my clients, and I have told my clients, like, just wait, because we don't know what the next 6 months to a year are going to bring. We keep getting pushed back, every couple of weeks, another month. I mean, I'll be honest with you, seeing what's playing out here in Vegas, I kind of feel like this is going to lead into, like, the middle of summer. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're all back to work in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be happening. And as everyone knows, this is the busiest time for Vegas and a lot of other cities across the world. It's spring break, it's Easter, and from here on out through October almost is our busy time. So when we hit winter, nothing is pretty much open. Everything's kind of shut down like it is now almost. And so here we are. We're going to go right back into winter again. And a lot of people, they file for unemployment through the winter months, and then they get back into their service industry job in the springtime. So now, a lot of people have been dependent on that money and even filing their taxes and everything. And now they have to use that money to live and pay bills versus put that down payment down on that property that you've been eyeing or you wanting to start a business. It's just really unpredictable right now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to advise someone, sure, you're fine, you're just furloughed, and then 6 months to a year later, now you've got you're in foreclosure process, and you could have avoided that, and you could have just kept renting or played it safe, because nothing is worth losing your whole life over, in my opinion.
No, I agree with you, and that brings up a point. Real estate prices and the value of real estate. What do you think is going to happen? Do you have any idea? Is it affecting price at all right now?
Well, right now, it looks like the market is strong, and I think last month everything closed out at the average of like 319,000. And I think the last time everything fell apart was around 315,000, which, people look at graphs and everything, and they'll say, oh, we're heading for a recession. And you're right, we are heading into a recession right now, a forced recession, because everything is closed. Yep. And I think later down the road, pipelines are going to be affected, and people are not going to buy because they don't have the money. So you'll see the sales and everything and the prices drop later. But as of like right now and last month, it's not showing, because everybody was just trying to close out at least what they had going in the couple of months before that. And granted, a lot of people are doing really well right now. It's just kind of like who's affected, who's not affected. It's a give and take for everything. And here we are on another fun roller coaster. And hopefully anybody that's listening, you're on the other side of it instead of on the negative one this time.
Yeah, the fact that you said it's a roller coaster, it is a roller coaster. And we, like I said, we have been through this not even that long ago, 2008, 2009, 2007. These years were a roller coaster. We never knew from one day to the next whether there was money to lend, whether the borrower was going to be able to buy based on their employment. And that's kind of where we are now. The difference is that it's really nobody's fault this time, although it is affecting everybody at the same way it did the last time.
Right, and I also feel that there's nothing that could have stopped this, and especially Vegas, where we've been working really hard on our economy to have a fail-safe, but nothing can could have projected that this is going to happen where everybody is laid off because we can't be near each other, right? And so, of course, that's going to impact our economy because no matter if it's gaming, sports, festivals, whatever it is, we're all together at some point, and now we can't even eat and be around each other. So we're greatly affected here. And any other places that have a high tourist economy. But here, we're definitely affected, especially if, professional sports are affected. That's going to hit us pretty hard.
Yeah, it's a situation where, like you say, I believe also that it'll be middle of the summer before we see any reprieve. But could you shout out your phone number? I like the conservative approach that you're taking with your current clientele. But shout out your phone number for people who are looking for a terrific real estate agent out there in Vegas and possibly some deals later on in the year.
Yes, we will have deals later on in the year. I'm sure about that. There's already a few here and there, but if you just wait a little bit, there will be more equity if you're ready for that. So my phone number is 702-704-3135. Call or text. If I don't answer, I'm volunteering a lot. We're busy helping to feed animals and take care of the pets, and also help everyone that's unemployed that's been calling us for food. And so we're just trying to get to everyone.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Alexis, once again for coming on the show, giving us a terrific perspective about what's happening in the Las Vegas real estate market. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. That's Alexis Young from Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry. If you would like to see this show, go to YouTube. I am on YouTube, Jeff Barton, the Mortgage Voice, and we are on this show as well as many other shows in the past that are on there. We probably have 200-300 shows on there now. But most recently, some of the information that we've been able to get out to the public deals with what we're all dealing with, and it's a difficult situation. We're also on a number of different podcasts. Certainly, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Music Play, a bunch of fine podcasts wherever they're heard. Subscribe for free to any of these and never miss an episode. And please leave us a review at any time because it helps other people find where we are and what we do. If you want to see us, you can go to our website, www.mortgagevoice.com. You can see my great face, Daryl's great engineering, and all the terrific guests. One of the guests that has joined us today has been on the show before, but not for a while, and I wanted to get a little bit more of a perspective of what's happening out there in Southern California, out in the San Diego area. And joining us from Real Estate Places is Tracy Madden. Tracy, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thank you. How are you doing today?
Oh boy, there's a loaded question for me. I'm sitting in my son's room doing the radio show with my engineer who is, 60 miles away, and you're 120 miles away. And to answer your question most dramatically, it's been hard. I got to tell you. And I'm not somebody who is faint of heart. So this is it's a difficult situation. And I'm sure it is for your real estate clients, which is why I wanted to talk to you. How are you dealing with them in a situation where they're either trying to sell their home or they're looking to purchase or they're in a purchase? What's going on in your world in real estate?
To be honest, things haven't slowed down too much. There has been a ton of changes that have been recently implemented, mostly having to do with the stay-at-home order that we're under and working from home, working remotely, taking the steps to still fully take care of our clients without, while keeping up with the social distancing. So what that looks like out here is virtual tours.
Right.
instead of open houses. It looks like Zoom. You know, everybody's been on a Zoom call,
Yeah.
I'm sure, at least once this week.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I've actually always worked from home. I prefer to work from home.
Of course.
It wasn't much of a difference for me besides the actual act of going out and showing homes. That has changed dramatically, and I really haven't done it since everything
Right.
came to a stop. Now, day after day, we're getting different updates. You know, at first we weren't sure if we were essential, and then they decided, yes, we are essential.
Right.
So we can continue to do business within reason. And so now I'm taking, you know, you have to be pre-approved, pre-qualified fully before I'm going to ask somebody to open their door and vacate the premises and let us through. I'm only allowed to bring one person through. You cannot bring your whole family, just you. And then we have the CVA, the COVID virus addendum that just came out recently.
What's on it?
It, you know, holds me harmless if somebody were to get sick.
I see.
You know,
I see.
because I
Wow.
have no control over that. So it's certainly been interesting, but I feel like real estate is an always changing industry anyways. There's always some kind of new form coming out, some kind of new rule. So it's just a matter of keeping up with it. And SRCAR has done a fantastic job of doing that. And
Let me
CAR,
ask you-
STAR, all of them have
Okay,
really been on top of this.
Let me ask you a question because you spoke specifically about how you are doing showings. Could you just walk me through that? For instance, when you're doing a showing, you're walking a client through, they have masks on? Do they have gloves on? Are they allowed to touch anything? How does it logistically work in your area, or how are you doing it?
So gloves, mask, hand sanitizer. One other person only. If I use the Supra and I open the box myself, I'm the only one who touches anything. I turn on all the light switches. I unlock the doors. I open the doors, and I ask that my client do their best not to touch anything. You know, if they want to open a cabinet or something, you know, that's fine, but it's at their own risk. But I generally touch everything with the gloves, and then I take my gloves off and I hand sanitize immediately after. And then we've got our masks, of course. I don't know about up where you're at, but in my county, you're not allowed to leave without a mask now. If you're outside of your home, you have to have a mask on. So that's really all it is, you know, good hygiene, don't touch your face.
Yeah, I was thinking also about the seller. When they come back into their home, they're trusting, of course, that, you know, nobody brought the virus to their home, because as we all know now, surfaces can retain for a certain amount of time the virus. And so I imagine that there is a good deal of cleaning once the showing is over, which then again may demotivate the seller to even do showings.
I have heard, I don't have an active listing at the moment.
I see.
So I haven't personally had to deal with that, but I have heard from other people that, you know, some people have canceled all showings. You know, it's still active on the MLS, but they don't want anybody coming through their home. A lot of people are writing offers subject to inspection.
I see.
So they get the escrow open, and then the seller will allow somebody to come through their home. They want to know that you're a serious buyer. They're not just going to let anybody come through right now. So
you're in the Temecula area, right?
Correct.
Okay. How are the real estate prices going to be affected, or have they been affected at all yet?
You know what? We haven't really seen a local impact yet. But, you know, of course, there's a potential for some collateral damage to the housing market.
Of course.
But it hasn't caused the California Association of Realtors to modify their forecast for the year. And CoreLogic actually increased their forecast for price appreciation for the entire state. So what that looks like here where I'm at is February bounced back with the strongest sales volume since 2013. We were up 9% month over month and 11% over last February. Prices were also strong, rising 3% over January and up a solid 8% year over year. So, you know, when the Fed dropped their rates and all of those, the 3% loans were available, it really made for a pretty strong March. And, you know, a lot of things are still closing in April. I'm curious to see what it looks like going into May, June, to see if we start to have a slowdown. But inventory is down to 2 months or less in my area. So we have like
Wow.
1.8 months in Temecula, 1.6 in Murrieta. So
Wow.
we don't have a lot of inventory, and we've got low rates. People are still buying.
Well, that's great news because I was talking earlier in the show to people out in Las Vegas, and they were a little bit more unsure. It's much different in terms of the employment. How is the employment situation down where you are?
That is where it gets pretty sticky. A lot of people had to apply for unemployment.
Yeah.
But there's still, I don't know if it's because it's California, as opposed to Vegas, but we still have a lot of essential workers here. We have a lot of people that work in the hospitals, a lot of people that work in industries that are still considered essential, and
Right.
some, in my opinion, that aren't essential, but they're still up and operating. People are just taking it digital and doing it remotely, and it's changing the industry as a whole, but it's kept a lot of people employed still.
I like the remote and the mobile kind of applications that we're forced into right now, just because I think it is pushing people to do business in a way that they may not have been comfortable. But once this is over, they may find that they actually are more productive doing it like this. I mean, I'm cutting my commute down to 25 seconds now, as opposed to 35 minutes each way.
Absolutely. And, there's always a silver lining in every negative situation.
Right.
Is this hard? Absolutely. Has it thrown a lot of people for a loop? Yes. Is it scary and the unknown? That's terrifying. However, it is forcing people into a forward movement. They're stepping into, places that they probably wouldn't have gone. So there's going to be some positive changes in the future, especially to the real estate industry and how it's done. And I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, I agree. I'm speaking with.
Not as afraid as maybe I would be.
Right.
If I didn't see all the positive changes happening as well.
I'm speaking with Tracy Madden from Real Estate Places. Tracy, could you shout out your phone number for people so that they can find you, talk to you, especially down in your area?
Absolutely. My phone number is area code 951-609-4077. That's 951-609-4077.
Tracy, thanks very much for coming on. I want to have you on again towards the end of this just to see how things have progressed or changed. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful day.
And you too. I'm Jeff Barton, your voice in the mortgage industry. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. We'll be right back with more in just a moment. For more information on today's topic, email Jeff Barton at info@malibufunding.net. Now, back to The Mortgage Voice with your host, Jeff Barton.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jeff Barton. I'm your voice in the mortgage industry. Thanks for tuning into the show this week. We are on a number of radio stations around the Southern California area as well as Las Vegas, Nevada, and I really do appreciate everybody who's listening. The information that we give you today is, of course, fluid. Why? Because we're in a situation that I've never seen, and I've been in the business probably 25, 30 years, and I'm sure you've heard that a lot, and professionals that you're looking for information and guidance in terms of mortgages, refinances, especially if you've got equity in your home. You want to take some money out perhaps for a rainy day, and this is a rainy day right now, in order to pay your bills, in order to have security if you do have a financial need. Yeah, you're going to want to hear that things are going to get back to normal soon, and people's jobs are going to be secure, and everybody's going to get hired back. I just don't know what is going to happen in regards to the COVID-19 virus and how that is sweeping across the country, and you all know what the progress of that is. What you may not know is some of the mortgage things that are happening, not only here at Malibu Funding. Malibu Funding sponsors the show each and every week, and they've been kind enough to continue that sponsorship during this crisis without money coming in the door, just because as a public service, to be able to present to you some of the information that we have that you may not know about, or some information that may help you in determining what you should be doing. We are on a number of different podcasts, whether it's Apple, iTunes, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, or Google Music Play. All of these are fine services, and the Big 8, which we're on, and you can hear this show. Also, we're on YouTube. Jeff Barton, the Mortgage Voice. This, as well as many other shows, especially during the crisis, are available through YouTube. So if you want to go there and you want to see what I look like and how we're presenting to on show online, you can do that, or listen to the radio stations. As I said, we're on 4 or 5 around the country right now, but certainly in Las Vegas, all through Southern California and up into the Tahoe region. Okay, so earlier segments of the show and what we're doing in terms of trying to provide the information, we talked forbearance. And what is forbearance? It's a funny word, right? What it really means is you get a little bit of a reprieve on paying your mortgage and paying what you owe to the servicer or the lender exactly. So what the mortgage industry is called now a timeout, right? A 90-day timeout, whereby the loan payments that you're making get tacked on to the end of your loan. I spoke earlier in a segment about some of the problems of that and how we have to rewind what that solution is in order to come back to 30-year fixed rate mortgages, where the time that you pay your loan ends by the time you make your last payment, as opposed to with forbearance, you're tacking this amount of money that you're not paying today onto the end of the loan, which means at the end of 360 payments, you still got a balloon payment of whatever 3 months worth of payments, and that could be a lot of dough. So they're working on a solution. A lot of this, like the information about whether you're supposed to wear a mask, whether you're not supposed to wear a mask, whether you're supposed to stay inside, whether it's okay to go shopping, whether it's okay to have food delivered, whether it's not okay to take the food into your home. You have to, it's confusing, right? Because they don't know. Well, it's very similar to that in the mortgage business. There's a lot of we don't knows. Really, we're making it up as we're going along. And what I can say about your loan, if you're listening to the show, if you have a job and if your job is secure, they will verify. We will verify, and the investor who's buying the loan will verify. So that's 2 or 3 or 4 different verifications of your job. Because the most important thing in any loan is the ability to repay. And if you don't have a job, your ability to repay is very, very unsure. Now, we all believe, and this is universal across the US as well as the world, that when this is over, or when we get back to normal, that people will be rehired, that people will continue to work the job they did work. And that is a universal belief from everybody in the mortgage business. So this forbearance, this stopping of paying for 3 months, tacking it on the end, is because we believe that you will have the same job you had at the same rate of pay that you had prior to this happening. So that in and of itself is a guess, right? So most companies are shying away from industries that can be marginalized. It's odd, right? Most of what we do in our business in normal settings is to evaluate earnings from people and future earnings and the probability of continued employment. We never thought we would look at certain job categories and say, hey, I don't know if that's, going to be employed in another month. Like a lot of service sector jobs, a lot of jobs that make great money, but aren't necessarily today secure. But the jobs that are secure, i.e., if you're working fast food today, you got a job and you have the ability to pay, whether it's your rent or whether it's contributing to the mortgage. And for those people that continue to do that job, every time you get a delivery, every time you see somebody who works the job that you used to look down at, look at them as not only people who are employed and people who can afford a mortgage or a rent payment, but also as, they're putting their lives on the line for you so that you can get food. I mean, they're out there every day trying to do for you what, we used to look down at these people. Anyway, it's a whole psychological reverse where, we've flipped the script, and how that means and what that means to you when you're paying off your mortgage is that you can pay off your mortgage if you have a job. So the industry is looking at your job category, the likelihood of your continued working, and the probability that you're going to get your job back. Some companies have gone to no. If they look at your industry and they've determined through their own evaluation process that your industry or your particular job will not be around and will not come back, then you're not going to get a loan. And that is besides the forbearance that you may have to have on your mortgage, besides anything else. So that is a problem. And then those of you that are in that particular situation, I understand it. And I would say that for you, the prospect of getting rehired or the prospect of continued employment is the most important thing, not only for the mortgage and the rent, but for you personally. And so to investigate that. Now, if you're in a loan right now and this is your situation, what the lenders are doing is they're looking for letters from your employer about the probability, possibility, or the inevitability of you getting your job back. So letters from the employer, verification of income, verification of employment, and the future prospect of continued employment if we go beyond the forbearance project probability. And all of these are things that are designed, as I said, to make sure that the lender who's lending the money to you doesn't get stuck with that loan. And that has happened. I talked to a number of people in the warehouse business who said that between the time, and I think I mentioned this before, between the time they funded the loan and the time it was supposed to get purchased, the person lost their job. And a lot of these are not the person's fault. Nobody's hiding anything. But the fact is that this is what's happening in a very fluid situation. And the warehouse line doesn't want to get stuck, because what are they going to do with a loan that the person who is the investor doesn't want, and the person who is originating the loan, is either as a correspondent or as a mortgage banker, they don't have the funds to buy back loans. I mean, as much as it's a terrible thing, those loans have to go somewhere. So what are we doing about that as an industry? Well, that's part of the problem. And one of the things that we are trying to address in the liquidity crisis, liquidity meaning, do we have money to be able to do this in the near or short term? I really appreciate everybody who has been listening to the show. I don't have a ton of answers, but we do have the questions that you need asked. And if you want to get in touch with us, please do. We'd love to hear from you. And again, Jeff Barton for the Mortgage Voice, and we'll see you next time.
You're listening to The Mortgage Voice with Jeff Barton. For more on today's topic, visit www.malibufunding.net.